Good morning.
Hi.
Let's share the celebratory season 6 chocolate chip muffin. Thanks to everyone for
I wish I could eat it.
I
Yeah,
mean,
me too.
I wish it came in a package. There would be enough for all of us, but I'm teasing you now. But season 6, happy birthday, everyone.
We made it.
Having our season premiere. Cheers. I'm Jen.
Hi, I'm Maureen. Happy New Year,
Hi.
everyone.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I can't believe this is season 6. That just means that we're all getting a lot older.
Speak for yourself, Kelly.
Happy birthday, Susan in the chat. That's exciting. Somebody in the chat, it's her real birthday. So happy
Oh, wow.
kidding.
Just for you. Morning book buzz today.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Are you turning 6? That's a big handle for you. Well, we'll save you a muffin as well. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We're so thrilled you're here. And we're so thrilled to talk about some 2025 reads with all of you. Oh my gosh, someone said it's 2 degrees. Isn't January the most fun?
I know,
This
it's
chat
so cold.
2 degrees where? Oh,
Well, we're going to talk about what we're reading, right? Want us to talk first?
Yeah, let's kick it off with that.
So I am reading this book you may have heard of called The Great Gatsby. It's our book club book this month. It's the 100th anniversary this year, so I felt like it was time to reread it. And
that's probably a good reread. I haven't read it
I think there's going to be a lot of fun. You'll see even in this presentation, there's going to be a lot of fun books surrounding it and stuff like that. So I felt like it was a good time to start off the year with rereading it.
You've inspired me. I want to reread it now.
I think I might reread it, honestly. It's probably very different as an adult.
Yeah, totally.
Well, tell us in the chat, has anyone else decided to reread something this year or celebrate the Great Gatsby 100th anniversary? That's so awesome, Kelly. You're reading it with a group of people, like a book club?
Yes, with my book club. Yeah.
Love it.
That is fun. I am reading Challenger, which I think was it was in all of the best of lists for last year, and it is so good. I have 10 pages left and I'm dying right now because I had to stop reading, but it really is very good. I highly recommend it.
You know what, Maureen, I read that.
You're into it. You did, right? It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, sad, but
what's going to happen.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about space travel.
Yeah.
It's good. More than I knew.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before I tell you mine, and this relates to both yours and mine, Maureen, it's National Hat Day, everyone. I'm sure we couldn't have planned this better. So I have the perfect hat.
Oh my God.
To kick it off. And also, unsurprisingly, my book is about theater, which you might not know that I enjoy. So happy National Hat Day, everyone. And I'm so glad to share with you that I have been discovering we have an incredible array of titles from the Library of America. So check out our website. And I'm going back and talk about rereading things from your past. I was discovering some really fun comedies from George S. Kaufman and many of his co-writers, such as Dinner at 8 and the Royal Family and Animal Crackers. And it's just been really fun to go back and reread some of these that I had read or that I hadn't read that I meant to. So that is my pick. And also, definitely, like I said, check out the Library of America has so many incredible titles of things to rediscover that maybe you didn't realize are things that your library needs or that you need for your own personal enjoyment. Oh, speaking of National Hat Day, I had a request. I think it was from Maureen.
I know, it was.
The infamous pop quiz that you may recall from season 1. So happy pop quiz, everyone. Happy season 6. We figured we'd tie it into National Hat Day and to testing all of your knowledge about us as your Morning Book Buzz presenters. So since it's season 6, we thought we should have perhaps 6 things that you should know about us. We're going to start it off easy, but how many newsletters do we have? Does anyone know? The Penguin Random House Library Marketing Team offers many newsletters that you should all sign up for. Does anyone know how many we have? This is a season 6 pop quiz. Season 6. Hint, hint.
15. Oh, thank
Or
God
we-
it's not
I
I know,
15.
thank God it's not
We
15.
have 6 newsletters. Do you get them all? We have our general one that comes out every
There,
Tuesday.
there are a lot of confident sixes here. I
I
like
mean,
it.
I might have led them into the Season
Maybe,
6.
maybe.
So we have our general newsletter, we have an audiobook newsletter, we have a PRH Gets Graphic newsletter, we have a kids newsletter featuring many of our wonderful client titles and more. We have our community reads letter, and we have our borrow, read, repeat newsletter. So we will share in the wrap up. In case you do not get them all, we would love to share with you how you can, and you can stay in the know with us beyond the morning book buzz. Well done, pop quizzers.
Hopefully they're
Yeah,
not
that was
supposed to
pretty
know
good.
the answers.
And I'll sprinkle some more questions throughout. I don't want to take up too much time. So I'll just surprise you with some future pop quiz questions later on. Stay tuned. And if you don't know already, these are all the formats that we offer. So take a look at the key as we present titles, and you'll know what's available in what format. And the most important one, of course, is that electronic E, the orange E, so that you know you can request a galley and get reading right away.
We are going to be co-hosting along with some of our distribution partners on January 23rd, a virtual wellness event with Booklist. We've done this, I think, 3 years in a row now, where we hear for some of our client partners about some of their books that are perfect to start the new year off with. A new year, new balanced life, and your new year, new you books, and some other kinds of like mental, inspirational books, physical, and this is always such a great program where you get to hear directly from our client partners. So we hope you will join us on January 23rd for this.
I want to join this. I need some wellness this year.
I was just saying that before. I think I need that.
Sign us up.
Well, you guys know where to find it.
And in case you missed it, we had our wonderful Winter Book and Author Festival. We couldn't do it without all of you. So thanks to everyone who attended. And if you missed it, don't worry. The content is still available online, and there's so much great content. We just had such a blast watching all of these amazing author panels. There were interviews. There were booths to explore from not just us, but our kids' imprints and many more. And it's just such a robust festival. We're so thrilled to be able to bring it to you twice a year, every year. Thanks, Christine, loves the Winter Festival. So definitely check it out. And everything's also on YouTube now if you want to see all of our videos. So there's lots to explore, and you can go back if you missed anything.
We will be at Live Learn X. We don't know how many of you will be joining us in Phoenix. Hopefully it's warmer than it is in New York. We've got a couple of keynotes, Kyle Edwards and Vara. Sorry, I don't think I said that right, but we'll have galleys and giveaways in the booth. We'll have lots of actually fun stuff. We're going to do a Great Gatsby themed raffle basket. So if you are there, we hope you'll stop by booth 210 and visit us.
And we are kicking off the new year with our 25 books to read in 2025. These are some of the biggest books that are being published in the first half of the year that we think everyone will be talking about. And you can also enter our sweepstakes to win 12 of these exciting reads for you or your library. You can check out the list and enter the sweeps by using the tiny URLs on the screen, but we'll also include those in the wrap up in case you don't have time to write them down.
And this might be a good moment. I'm going to ask another pop quiz question. Are you all ready? Because I think, you can see there's some amazing future bestsellers on the screen. We're always so excited to share great titles with you during the Morning Book Buzz. Does anyone know the date of when our first ever episode of Morning Book Buzz was launched?
If anyone knows
Do I
this
need
off the
another
top
hat?
of their head.
National Hat Day. Do I need another hat?
Oh my God.
I actually don't know, but I'm going to guess it was like
Yeah,
March or April of 2020.
April. Do you want to take a guess?
It was April?
It was April.
2020, right? Yeah.
Gosh.
April.
Do you know the date? Do you have the date, Jen?
I do have the date.
You
It's
do.
April 1st, 2020. What a good way to kick it off. So
Oh, that's easy
look
to
what we
remember.
started. And the places you'll go, guys. We've gone so far.
Crazy,
Anyway.
crazy.
And so we're always thrilled that this Morning Book Buzz can bring you future bestsellers or books that you're going to just fall in love with. And here are 5 of them that I think need little introduction, but we wanted to make sure we we remind you about these amazing titles coming out.
Can you believe when we first did it, Emily Henry was probably not the Emily Henry we know today?
Oh, see?
6 years ago.
Thank goodness for Morning Book Buzz, and we
I
can
know, we would have never found her.
take full credit. Well, we're so excited her new one's coming. We hope you are too.
Yes, definitely.
Oh,
I know,
for all the
always
sweet
fun.
comments. We really are so grateful to all of you. Thanks for tuning in. And now we're going to kick it off with some great mysteries and thrillers. And speaking of, I mean, thank you, Kelly. You couldn't have planned it any better with picking The Great Gatsby as your current read and then getting all those amazing comments going. So many people have so much love for The Great Gatsby. So you obviously need to have this upcoming title called The Gatsby Gambit by Claire Anderson Wheeler. And this is, of course, for all of you Gatsby lovers, for Golden Age novel readers, for people who love cozy mysteries, fans of The Christie Affair by Nina de Gramont, The Thursday Murder Club we know you love by Richard Osman, Death Comes to Pemberley is another great one by P.D. James. So this is for all of those who love to revisit and reimagine what could be a little different if you got to dive deeper into one of your favorite books. So of course, this is one of America's most beloved literary characters. It's a page-turning mystery. It has the gilded opulence of the Roaring Twenties, which we love, and it features a clever young woman of unusual persistence. So we are ready to rethink and revisit the world of Gatsby. So this features a freshly 21-year-old sporting a daring new bob. Her name's Greta Gatsby. She's the younger sister to the infamous Jay, and she's finally free of her finishing school, and she's looking forward to summer. And it has, she's at the Gatsby mansion with its breathtaking views, and she's so eager to just enjoy it all. And she thinks nothing could disrupt this blissful time except finding out that Jay's cadre of dubious friends, Daisy and Tom, along with Nick Carraway and Jordan Baker, will be summering there too. And she's not happy about this. And then later on, there's a murder mystery that comes along. Death has come to West Egg, and with it, a web of scandal, betrayal, and secrets. So she turns into a sleuth, which is not how Greta meant to spend her summer, but what choice does she have when everyone else seems intent on living in a world of make-believe? So this is just really fun. It's perfect for the 100-year anniversary. Your patrons will be clamoring for this. It's another fresh spin on a classic, which, as I mentioned before, some of those other ones are so wonderful, and we just are so thrilled to return to this setting and have a really fun return to The Great Gatsby.
I saw it in the chat, but I agree that cover is unbelievably beautiful. Oh, I love it. Next up is The Museum Detective by Maya Khan Phillips. When Dr. Gol Delaney receives a call in the middle of the night from the Singh police, she thinks they may have finally found her niece, Manaz, a precocious, politically conscious teenage girl who went missing 3 years prior. Gul has been racked with grief since Manaz's disappearance and distracts herself through work. A talented curator at the Museum of Heritage and History in Karachi, she is one of the country's leading experts in archaeology and ancient civilizations. It's a hard-won position for a woman. This book is inspired by a real-life antiquities scandal in Pakistan. It's a gripping series debut that introduces archaeologist Dr. Gol Delaney, whose investigation into the discovery of a mummy gets complicated and personal when it collides with her years-long search for a missing family member. This is perfect for fans of Sue Grafton and Elsa Hart, and we're really excited to introduce this new series to you in April.
And Kristen Perrin is back. Her first book, How to Solve Your Own Murder, was a #1 Library Reads pick, and fans of her debut will not be disappointed with the second book in the Castle Knoll series, How to Seal Your Own Fate. This book begins when local fortune teller and lifelong troublemaker Peony Lane is found dead in the country estate Annie Adams inherited from her great-aunt Frances. Annie is thrown into a new web of murder spanning decades in the quaint English village of Castle Knoll that she'll have to solve with her great-aunt's diaries and files, or else risk losing everything she loves about her new life. Castle Knoll has everything fans of Richard Osman or Agatha Christie could want. Amateur sleuthing, a quaint English village, hiding dark secrets, and a dual timeline double homicide. Anyone who loves Only Murders in the Building and Knives Out will love this masterclass in the art of mystery.
That's a great cover too, actually.
Yeah, this whole slide.
Yeah.
And next, from the host of the popular true crime podcast, Crime Junkie, and best-selling author of All Good People Here, Ashley Flowers' The Missing Half is a captivating mystery about two women haunted by their sister's unsolved disappearance. At 24, Nicole Monroe is in a rut, and everyone has felt sorry for her for the last 7 years since the day her older sister, Casey, vanished without a trace. On the night Casey went missing, her car was found over 100 miles from home. The driver's door was open and her purse was untouched in the seat next to it. The only real clue in her disappearance was Jules Connor, another young woman from the same area who disappeared in the same way 2 weeks earlier. But with so little for the police to go on, both their cases eventually went cold. Nicole wants nothing more than to move on from her sister's disappearance and the state it's left her in. But then one day, Jules' sister, Jenna Connor, walks into her life and offers her something she hasn't felt in a long time: hope. What follows is a gripping tale of two sisters who will do anything to find their missing halves, even if it means destroying everything they've ever known. This is a chilling and gritty read that's perfect for your patrons who loved sharp objects.
And then finally, I already saw there's excitement for The Dark Maestro by Brendan Slocum. We're such fans of his. If you didn't see him speak at the Winter Festival, I highly recommend going to find his panel. He's a phenomenal speaker, and I love hearing him talk about writing and his book and music. So we're so thrilled to have him back on our list. This is, of course, for readers of Nita Prose, Alyssa Cole, classical music lovers, readers of inspiring personal stories, and just Brendan Slocum fans, because he has so many now, especially in the library world, and we're so thrilled. So this is, of course, from the author of The Violin Conspiracy and Symphony of Secrets, and it's a new mesmerizing page-turner about a musical virtuoso who's forced into hiding when his family runs afoul of a ruthless criminal organization, and how he uses music to bring his enemies to justice. So you're going to meet Curtis Wilson. He's a cello prodigy. He's growing up in the Southeast DC projects with a drug dealer for a father. But through determination and talent and the loving support of his father's girlfriend, he claws his way out of his challenging circumstances, and he rises to unimagined heights in the classical music world, even soloing with the New York Philharmonic. But then suddenly his life disintegrates, and his father turns state evidence, implicates his old bosses to the FBI, and now his family must enter the witness protection program if they want to survive. So that means Curtis must give up the very thing he loves most, sharing his extraordinary musical talents with the world. This entire premise and plot just gives me chills. It's such a moving story. It's gripping, and it ties into so many things that I think we don't often see put together. I just love the combination of the desire to perform and being a musical prodigy, and then this real, like, FBI crime world mystery. So it's just so wonderful. And he just always uses the power of music to talk about life and people. And I just think it's such a great combination, and I'm just so excited for this one.
Now on to something a bit different, gripping nonfiction, starting with No More Tears: The Dark Secrets of Johnson & Johnson. One day in 2004, Gardner Harris, a pharmaceutical reporter for the New York Times, was early for a flight and sat down at an airport bar. He struck up a conversation with the woman on the bar stool next to him, who happened to be a drug sales rep for Johnson & Johnson. Her horrific story about unethical sales practices and the devastating impact they had on her family fundamentally changed the nature of how Harris would write and cover the company and the entire pharmaceutical industry for the Times. His subsequent investigations and ongoing research since that very first conversation led to this book, which is a blistering expose of a trusted American institution and the largest healthcare conglomerate in the world. Harris takes us light years away from the company's image as the child-friendly baby company, as he uncovers reams of evidence showing decades of deceitful and dangerous corporate practices that have threatened the lives of millions. Filled with shocking and infuriating but utterly necessary revelations, No More Tears is a landmark work of investigative journalism that lays bare the deeply rooted corruption behind the image of babies bathing with a smile. An explosive, deeply reported expose from an award-winning investigative journalist, this book is perfect for readers of Empire of Pain and Bad Blood. And
This one
terrifying.
gives me chills every time, and I've heard about it many times over the
I
last
know.
year.
And,
And I
this
love
cover is like, this
Gina.
cover is so good.
I know.
It's so good.
Yeah, and someone
Scary.
already said that they're finding this really enjoyable, even though
Yeah.
you're not a big nonfiction reader. I mean, this gives me chills every time, and I can't believe, I think it is so important to bring all this to light, but it's very chilling and it's very
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
And wow.
Just thinking of all that baby powder that was tossed around my bedroom when I was a baby.
Oh, I know.
I know.
Like it was
It's
everywhere,
unsettling.
Make you
everywhere.
paranoid about everything.
I know, I know.
I know. Ugh. Next up, this book actually I think looks pretty fascinating. A Living Working Class Americans Talk to Their Doctor. From a leading public health expert and physician, and in the style of Studs Terkel's Working, comes an eye-opening look at what it's like to have to work physically hard for your money in America. A Living is a vivid portrait of the working lives of the patients who visit Dr. Michael Stein, a primary care doctor in urban America. What makes his patients unique is that they, by and large, do demanding manual labor. Very few have the luxury of working remotely or seated. Inspired by Stud Terkel's classic Working, Stein produces an eye-opening look at what it's like to have to work long hours at physical jobs for a paycheck in America. A Living is composed of vignettes, snapshots of people's working lives, the dramas, disappointments, and frustrations workers have with their colleagues, family, co-workers, and supervisors. And yet it also captures the sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, the opportunities for initiative and self-expression that come from doing intricate work with one's hands. Work gives Stein's patients a sense of identity and a social environment to thrive in. Ultimately, A Living is an extraordinarily powerful and poetic tableau of working class America at this moment when manual labor may be the final refuge in the new era of AI. I come from a family of truck drivers and movers, and so this looks really fascinating to me. I can't wait to
Yeah,
read it.
it sounds great. And also the
Mhm.
comparison to Studs Terkel's Working really, I have such memories of reading that in college and even like doing monologues from it. Like they're so incredibly like well-crafted character studies of people. And then there's even a, no surprise, there's a musical based on that work, because they just were such incredible characters, but real people obviously who were brought to life. And the fact that this is being compared to that, I just feel like it's going to be such an eye-opening and memorable way to meet people, and really hear the truth of who they are, and meet all these different characters, who we can all see ourselves in too, I'm sure. So it sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to some sibling success. So this is always interesting, topically, I think. What explains when families have multiple children who just achieve extraordinary success in a way that's just like beyond what you think is possible, like having an Olympic athlete and an award-winning novelist and a successful entrepreneur all raised under one roof? Like, what can we learn from these families who have children who aim high and succeed, and sometimes in very varied fields, but all have this just extraordinary off the chart success in common? And what were the costs along the way, perhaps? What can we learn from their travails and triumphs? So this is really fascinating. It's from a New York Times journalist named Susan Dominus, and she offers really compelling profiles. Speaking of profiles, again, I think we really get to meet different, characters, so to speak, but real people. And she explores these 6 families and tries to understand the factors that led to their success. Like, is it an inherited quality? Is it a specific way of parenting? Is it the influence of another sibling, or is it just luck? So I think it's a really interesting conversation. And what's very cool for you publishing fans in here, Lauren Groff's family is covered in here, because she's obviously an amazing novelist. And I didn't know her sister is an Olympic athlete. Did you know that? Well,
No.
now you know.
Oh,
And
that
now
is
we'll all
interesting.
know, because we're all going
Now
to read
we
this
all
book.
know. Yeah.
So this is just, beautifully written and super well researched. And it's definitely more than a checklist of how-tos, because it's a really moving exploration of the complexity of family life and the rewards and burdens of ambition. So it's just such an interesting topic. I think, it could even be a really interesting book club pick, because especially like I do, my book club is a lot of like local moms, and I feel like we always talk about kids and family, and something like this could be really fascinating to discuss with a group of people who are always, just sort of thinking about family dynamics, or even just to read on your own and think about this. It's a very interesting question. And then the perfect segue. Speaking of sibling success, you may be familiar with Tina Knowles, who has a daughter named Beyonce and a daughter named Solange, who are pretty successful. So she might know a thing or two about sibling success. And so I loved that these both popped up, and I had to put them together because I just think this really relates to what we just talked about. And I think she covers a lot of this in her memoir, in addition to the fact that she really reveals who she is as this really inspiring, powerful woman who's, faced perseverance and challenges. And I feel like we know so much about her daughters, but do we know as much as we thought we knew about Tina Knowles and how she, raised her family to be these fearless, Black, creative, powerful women who are so inspiring and fantastic. So this is just, I think, a memoir like none other. It's entertaining, it's surprising, it's empowering, and it's a real testament to her power as a mother. And I just think it's going to be so interesting to learn about her own childhood and then her own parenting techniques and how she just has lived her life and her life's journey. And we're going to learn a lot about what that journey was and continues to be. So I really think this is a really interesting memoir that's a combination of not just memoir, but also like parenting and motherhood and success, and has really beautiful personal stories that we've never heard before. And I just have to read the last line of her bio because I thought it was awesome. She is a grandmother of 6 and a matriarch to many. So we all want to learn about this fabulous matriarch. Should we do a pop quiz question really quick before book club picks, guys? I have another good question for you. You ready? Season 6 pop quiz. Wait, we need a new hat because it's National Hat Day.
Oh my God, Jen.
I was busy this morning. Okay, so how many episodes of Morning Book Buzz have we done so far? Anyone want to guess? Mateys?
Mateys.
Maybe like
Ooh, I
40.
see a 37. I see a
Hold on,
50.
12,
I see 26. I think the
42.
the closest. So well done, Elizabeth. We have done 53 episodes so far.
What?
This is number
Wow.
54.
Oh man, I was low. Wow, that's a lot.
Wow.
So, and we couldn't do it without all of you fabulous attendees. So hats off.
Wow.
Hats off to you. Hats off to
That is a
our
lot.
54. And now we can continue.
Yeah, one of our most popular topics with all of you over the last forever have been book club picks. Everyone's always looking for great books for their book clubs, and no different for 2025. First up is Fireweed in the mowed down industrial north of Prince George, Canada. Quote unquote, white trash housewife Jenny Hayes shares a fence with the only First Nations woman in the neighborhood, Raquel, and her 2 little girls. Jenny desperately wants a child and can't understand why Raquel, with her trash-pocked and overgrown yard, should have what Jenny wants most in the world. But Jenny tries to suppress her judgment, as she has with her mother Fee, a cougar who chain smokes cigarettes instead of changing the full diapers of her boyfriend's kids. And Missy, her best friend, with juicy couture pulled tight over her baby bump and an unfurnished McMansion. Instead, she volunteers to babysit Raquel's girls, brushing hair, folding laundry, and ignoring the stilettos tucked under the bed in Raquel's disheveled home. But when 2 young women, the strawberry blonde, blue-eyed Beth Tremblay and Jenny's own neighbor Raquel, disappear along Highway 16, only Beth's face and name are plastered on billboards and broadcasted over the air. Raquel's daughters are carted off by the state, and Jenny takes it upon herself to investigate. After all, Jenny thinks, who else is looking for her pariah of a neighbor? Jenny shudders through police encounters, asks the people living on the res all the wrong questions, and ultimately faces, alongside the reader, the complicated motive behind her investigation. With great awareness and care, Lauren Haddad's portrait of Jenny brilliantly exposes first our impulse to seek myths, as opposed to the realities of race, class, and gender oppression in rural communities, and the consequences when our own concern for others is clouded by self-preoccupation. Gripping, unflinching, and rebellious, Fireweed begs the question, just how good are our good intentions? Fun.
Ooh, that sounds so good, Kelly.
I know, doesn't it?
And The Names by debut author Florence Knapp is an extraordinary novel that asks the question, can a name change the course of a life? In the wake of a catastrophic storm, Cora sets off with her 9-year-old daughter Maya to register her son's birth. Her husband, Gordon, a local doctor and respected in the community, but a terrifying and controlling presence at home, intends for her to name the infant after him. But when the registrar asks what she'd like to call the baby, Cora hesitates. Spanning 35 years, what follows are 3 alternate and alternating versions of Cora's and her young son's lives, shaped by her choice of a name. In richly layered prose, The Names explores the painful ripple effects of domestic abuse, the messy ties of family, and the possibilities of autonomy and healing. With exceptional sensitivity and depth, Knapp draws us into the story of one family told through a prism of what-ifs, causing us to consider the one precious life we are given. The book's brilliantly imaginative structure, propulsive storytelling, and emotional gut-wrenching power make this the definition of a book club pick. It's perfect for readers of Maggie O'Farrell, Claire Lombardo, and Kate Atkinson.
Oh, that also sounds fascinating.
It does
It's
sound.
making-
I haven't read it, and I'm like, how does she do those timelines, those alternating stories? I'm curious, and I think I'm gonna have to
And to
check
think
it
of the
out.
impact it has, it's so funny because
Yeah.
my child who's in 2nd grade, they've just been sharing name stories every morning for the last week. So every kid has had to bring in their names and how they
Oh,
got their name,
wow.
and they've literally been talking about it. And this book is making me think about like how fascinating it is. Like
Yeah.
little kids who are 6 and 7 are learning about the importance of their own names, but like how would it have changed your life if it
Right.
was different? Like what a thing to imagine. Like does it affect who you are or who you're meant to be? And it's just
Yeah.
such a kind of interesting topic
Like,
that
what if
I'm thinking about.
Beyonce's name was
Sarah.
Sarah?
Do we both think so?
Would it hold the same weight?
I don't know. Or would she have changed?
My mom tells the story that when she took a nap after I was born and my dad changed my name while I was sleeping while she was
No.
sleeping.
Really?
So who knows? Yeah, I was going to be Caroline.
Caroline.
Oh my
Interesting,
God,
right?
you have to write a book about that.
I know. So who is not excited to hear that Ocean Vuong has a new book? The Emperor of Gladness. Ocean Vuong returns with a big-hearted novel about chosen family, unexpected friendship, and the stories we tell ourselves to survive. One late summer evening in the post-industrial town of East Gladness, Connecticut, 19-year-old High stands on the edge of a bridge in pelting rain, ready to jump, when he hears someone shout across the river. The voice belongs to Graziana, an elderly widow succumbing to dementia, who convinces him to take another path. Bereft and out of options, he quickly becomes her caretaker. Over the course of the year, the unlikely pair develops a life-altering bond, one built on empathy, spiritual reckoning, and heartbreak, with the power to alter High's relationship to himself, his family, and a community on the brink. Following the cycles of history, memory, and time, the Emperor of Gladness shows the profound ways in which love, labor, and loneliness form the bedrock of American life. This one sounds really fabulous. I can't wait to read it.
That
That's
does
all my
sound
things.
bad. I love thinking of the golden thread that connects all of these books we're talking about, of like fate and what your name is or who calls your name at that exact moment that you need to hear it, or noticing your, I mean, it's really fascinating. Oh, and just to answer your question, someone wants to know what the orange E is for. That's a great question. If you missed it, it's for the eGalley is available. So you know that you can go and try and request an early read on NetGalley or Edelweiss. And then finally on this slide, Consider Yourself Kissed by Jessica Stanley. Another great book club pick, I think, because this chronicles over 10 years of a woman's life and her relationship. And I always think these like really, decades spanning stories really give you a lot to think about in terms of your own life. And do you end up where you think, or how do you stay in love, which is what this is about. And I think it's such an interesting thing for a book club to discuss. So this is a literary love story told through 10 years in the life of one woman as she tries to build a longed for family without also losing herself. So it's a really entertaining portrayal of the true grown-up meaning of happily ever after. So when she first meets Adam, Coralie is new to London and feeling adrift, but Adam is clever, witty, and he insists a quarter-inch taller than the average male. His charming 4-year-old daughter only adds to his appeal. But 10 years on, something important is missing from the life Coralie and Adam have built. Or maybe, having gained everything she dreamed of, Coralie has lost something else she once had, herself. Set against an eventful British decade that included the soap opera of 5 prime ministers, plus the chaos of the pandemic, Consider Yourself Kissed puts the subjects of love and family on a grand stage, showing how the intimate dramas in our homes inescapably compete for energy and attention with the shared public dramas of our times. Again, I think it's just so highly relatable and so great for book clubs about, two people and following them over time, and what does happily ever look like, and what does your parenting dreams in partnership look like, and especially when real life gets in the way. And this, does include some really true big world events that incorporate into this particular couple's life. So I think there's a lot to unpack here, and will be really interesting to discuss.
And since we're talking about book clubs, what better time than now to promote our new book club brochure, volume 29. This is great for if you're looking for your next book club pick. You can browse the brochure that features discussion questions for authors like Elizabeth Strout, Kevin Kwan, Leanne Moriarty, Charmaine Wilkerson, Danzy Senna, and debut authors alike. It just helps take the guesswork out of picking your next book. And also perfect for book clubs, but is historical fiction, is Happy Land by Dolan Perkins Valdez. New York Times bestselling and NAACP Image Award-winning author Perkins Valdez brings us a transporting multi-generational novel about the stories that shape us, inspired by true events. Nikki hasn't seen her grandmother in years due to a mysterious estrangement inherited from her mother. So when the elder calls out of the blue with an urgent request for Nikki to visit her in the hills of western North Carolina, she hesitates only for a moment. After years of silence in her family, she's determined to learn the truth while she still can. But instead of answers about the recent past, Mother Rita tells Nikki an incredible story of a kingdom on this very mountain and of her great-great-great-grandmother Luella, who would become its queen. It sounds like the makings of a fairy tale, royalty among a community of freed people. But the more she learns about the kingdom of the Happy Land and the lives of those who dwelled in the ruins she discovers in the woods, the more she realizes how much of her identity and her family's secrets are actually wrapped up in these hills. Because this land is their legacy, and it will be up to her to protect it before, like so much else, it's stolen away. This book is great for readers of Britt Bennett, Lisa Wingate, and Charmaine Wilkerson.
I saw in the chat some questions. Yes, we send out a link to all of the titles in our presentation. We do a wrap-up report. You'll receive a link with the collection and a Excel spreadsheet without all the titles on it. Also, NetGalley and Edelweiss are similar, where you can request a digital download of the Galley. They both have different functionalities on the back end, and so it's just a preference, but you can request e-galleys on either one. Okay. So next up, and who doesn't love historical fiction? I saw that in the chat also. Everybody loves to read a good historical fiction. And I think this one sounds really, really interesting. It's called The Eight by Joanna Miller. They knew they were changing history, but they didn't know they would change each other. Following the unlikely friendship of 4 women in the first female class at Oxford, their unshakable bond in the face of male contempt, and their coming of age in a world forever changed by World War I, this is a captivating debut about sisterhood, determination, and courage. Oxford in 1920, for the first time in its 1,000-year history, Oxford University officially admits female students. Burning with dreams of equality, 4 young women move into neighboring rooms in Corridor 8. Beatrice, Dora, Marianne, and Otto, collectively known as the Eights. They come from all walks of life, each driven by their own motives, each holding tight to their own secrets, and are thrown into an unlikely, unshakable friendship. Dora was never meant to go to university, but after losing both her brother and her fiance on the battlefield, she has arrived in their place. Politically minded Beatrice, daughter of a famous suffragette, sees Oxford as a chance to make her own way. Otto was a nurse during the war, but is excited to return to her socialite status in Oxford, where she hopes to find distraction from the memories that haunt her. And Marianne, the quiet, clever daughter of a village pastor, who has a shocking secret she must hide from everyone, even her new friends, if she is to succeed. Among the historic spires and in the long shadow of the Great War, the four women must navigate and support one another in a turbulent world in which misogyny is rife, influenza is still a threat, and the ghosts of the Great War don't always remain dead. Definitely going to read this one. oh, no, that's not me. Go. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I was
It's called
skipping.
The Pretender. Do you want to pretend that this is your
Yeah.
title? So next up we have the perfect sweeping historical book for fans of Hilary Mantel and Maggie O'Farrell, who we know, I think, are we're probably speaking to the perfect audience based on all the comments I see. So this is set during the time of the Tudors' ascent, and The Pretender tells the story of Lambert Simnel, who was raised in obscurity as a peasant boy to protect his safety. He was believed to be the heir to the throne occupied by Richard III, and briefly crowned at the age of 10 as King Edward VI, one of the last of the Plantagenets. I should have had to say that before. But this is so cool because it's inspired by literally like a footnote to history. I mean, leave it to these incredible authors to just, read a footnote and say, oh my God, I've got to know this true story. So this is the true story of the little known Simnel, who was a figurehead of the 1487 Yorkist Rebellion and ended up working as a spy in the court of King Henry. And it's a historical fiction just at its finest. It's so gripping. It's this amazing portrait of British monarchy and life within the court, but has this other, character who's so mysterious. And this is just going to be, I think, such a fun discovery of fantastic, new voice in historical fiction. So just to give you one glowing quote, of which there are many to choose from, Karen Russell says, "What Joe Harkin has accomplished in The Pretender left me awestruck on every page. I had no idea that a medieval historical novel could be this wickedly funny, this timely and timeless. A work of genius, a wellspring of laughter and sorrow, a feat of time travel, and a feast of language." So if that doesn't sell you on it, I don't know what will. Thank you, Karen Russell.
Another fun author for me to be able to talk about a new book from is Isabel Allende. My name is Amelia Del Val, in this spellbinding historical novel from the New York Times bestselling author of A Long Petal of the Sea and The Wind Knows My Name. A young writer journeys to South America to uncover the truth about her father and herself. Set in San Francisco in 1866, an Irish nun abandoned following a torrid relationship with a Chilean aristocrat, gives birth to a daughter named Amelia Del Val. Raised by a loving stepfather, Amelia grows into an independent thinker and a self-sufficient young woman. To pursue her passion for writing, she is willing to defy social norms. At the age of 17, she begins to publish pulp fiction using a man's pen name. When these fictional worlds can no longer satisfy her sense of adventure, she turns to journalism, convincing an editor at the Daily Examiner to hire her. Then she is paired with another talented reporter, Eric Whelan. As she proves herself, her restlessness returns until an opportunity arises to cover a brewing civil war in Chile. She seizes it, as does Eric, and while there she meets her estranged father and delves into the violent confrontation in the country where her roots lie. As she and Eric discover love, the war escalates, and Amelia finds herself in extreme danger, fearing for her life and questioning her identity and her destiny. My name is Amelia Del Val introduces a character who will never let hold of your heart.
And this, I originally was like, oh, what is this book? And then I read this line, and it says Louis L'Amour meets H.P. Lovecraft. And I was just like, you know what? I think I'm into it.
I don't have to make the cover really big to be like, what is he looking at? This is
I'm into this. It is now added to my list. This is The Country Under Heaven by Frederick S. Durbin. And it's a thrilling Western epic about a former Civil War soldier racked by enigmatic visions. It's set in the 1880s, and it follows Ovid Vesper, a former Union soldier who has been having visions after surviving one of the Civil War's most gruesome battles, the Battle of Antietam. As he travels across the country following those visions, he finds himself in a stranger and increasingly more dangerous and with increasingly more dangerous encounters with other worlds hidden in the spaces of his own, not to mention the real life dangers of the Wild West. Ovid brings his steady calm and compassion as he helps the people of a broken country, rapidly changing, but like himself, still reeling from wounds from the war. His epic journey across the American West with a surprising cast of characters blends elements of the classic Western and historical fantasy in a way like no other. This is a genre mashup that's perfect for your patrons who like The Twilight Zone and Stephen King's Dark Tower series. Very cool.
And now we have a topic we know you also all love, and we thank you always for your support of debut authors. And we're so thrilled to introduce three of them to you today, starting with Virginia Evans. So this is The Correspondent, and it's perfect for readers who love an oddball, grouchy protagonist, for fans of Oliver Kitteridge or fans of charming, deeply human novels that remind us how extraordinary and ordinary life can be. And also this involves letter writing, which I think is always a really just beautiful topic to think about. I think it's a lost art, and I still love sending letters to people and buying stamps. Speaking of, I saw Goodnight Moon stamps are coming this year, which
Ooh.
made me happy. I always love seeing the book tie-ins to stamps. But anyway, The Correspondent is about a woman who tries to heal old wounds and make sense of the world the only way she knows how, through letters. It's a charming, laugh-out-loud debut novel about a life fully lived. So Sybil Van Antwerp is a mother and a grandmother, divorced, retired from a distinguished career in law. She's an avid gardener, and she's a writer of letters. And most mornings around 10:30, she sits down to write letters to her brother, to her best friend, to the president of the university, who will not allow her to audit a class she desperately wants to take, to Joan Didion, and to Larry McMurtry to tell them what she thinks about their latest books. Because at 73, Sybil has used her letters to make sense of the world and her place in it. But as Sybil expects her life to go on as it always has, letters from someone in her past force her to examine one of the most painful periods of her life. So this is about someone who is filled with a knowledge that only comes from a life fully lived. The Correspondent is a gem of a novel that is a testament to the power of the written word. And if there's any better topic for the book, I don't know what it is. This is just, I think, something that's going to really grab readers of all types. And it's just a really beautiful story. And we can't wait for you to enjoy it. It sounds like some people already have, perhaps. But yes, I agree. Epistolary novels are just so emotional. I feel like they really stick with you, and you really get to know characters in a unique way.
And The Original Daughter is a dazzling debut by Stegner Fellow Jemima Way that explores the formation and dissolution of family bonds in a story of ambition and sisterhood in turn of the millennium Singapore. Before Aaron, Genevieve Yang was an only child. Living with her parents and grandmother in a single-room flat in working-class Badak, Genevieve is saddled with an unexpected sibling when Aaron appears, the shameful legacy of a grandfather long believed to be dead. As the two girls grow closer, they must navigate the intensity of life in a place where the urgent insistence on achievement demands constant sacrifice. Knowing that failure is not an option, the sisters learn to depend entirely on one another as they spurn outside friendships, leisure, and any semblance of a social life in pursuit of academic perfection and passage to a better future. When a stinging betrayal violently estranges Genevieve and Aaron, Genevieve must weigh the value of ambition versus familial love, home versus the outside world, and allegiance to herself versus allegiance to the people who made her who she is. In the story of a family and its contention with the roiling changes of our rapidly modernizing winner-take-all world, The Original Daughter is a major literary debut rife with emotional clarity and searing social insight, and will appeal to fans of Celeste Ng, Claire Lombardo, and Rumaan Alam.
Next up is Awake in the Floating City. It's fun, it's debut, and it's also dystopian. I know there's a lot of people that are always trying to do some recommendations for people that like to read a good dystopian novel. This is an utterly transporting debut novel about the unexpected relationship between an artist and the 130-year-old woman she cares for. two of the last people living in a flooded San Francisco of the future, the home neither is ready to leave. Bo knows she should go. Years of rain have drowned the city, and almost everyone else has fled. Her mother was carried away in a storm surge, and ever since, Bo has been alone. She is stalled, an artist unable to make art, a daughter unable to give up the hope that her mother may still be alive. Half-heartedly, she allows her cousin to plan for her escape. But as the departure day approaches, she finds a note slipped under her door from Mia, an elderly woman who lives in her building and wants to hire Bo to be her caregiver. Suddenly, Bo has a reason to stay. Mia can be prickly, and yet still she and Bo forge a connection deeper than Bo has had with a client. Mia shares deeper than any he has had with Bo has had with a client. Sorry. Mia shares stories of her life that pull Bo back toward art, toward the practice she thought she'd abandoned. Listening to Mia, allowing her memories to become entangled with Bo's own, she's struck by how much history will be lost as the city gives way to water. This is kind of timely and sad, actually. Then Mia's health returns, and Bo determines to honor their disappearing world and this woman who's brought her back to it. A project that teaches her the lessons that matter most: how to care, how to be present, how to commemorate a life and a place soon to be lost forever. Oddly timely.
Yeah.
Next up is fantasy and romance novels for you. This first one is very fun to talk about. Disco Witches of Fire Island. I think this one's going to be very popular. Hit the dance floor with a coven of queer witches on 1980s Fire Island. In this gay fantasy romance about finding love, magic, and family in the face of tragedy. It's a heartwarming LGBTQ novel for fans of steamy romance, Loathe at First Sight, and Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's 1989, and Joe Agabon and his best friend Ronnie set out to spend their first summer working in the hedonistic gay paradise of Fire Island Pines. Joe is desperate to let loose and finally move beyond the heartbreak of having lost his boyfriend to the HIV epidemic. The two friends are quickly taken by a pair of quirky older house cleaners, but something seems off, and Joe starts to suspect that something otherworldly is going on. In truth, Howie and Lenny are members of a secret disco they are members of a secret disco witch coven tasked with protecting the island and young men like Joe from the relentless tragedies ravaging their community. The only problem is, having lost too many of their fellow witches to the epidemic, the coven's protective powers have been seriously damaged. Unaware of the mystical shenanigans going on, Joe starts to fall for the super cute bisexual ferryman who just happens to have webbed feet and an unusual ability to hold his breath underwater. But Joe's longing to find love is tripped up by his own troublesome past, as well as the lure of a mysterious hunk he keeps seeing around the island, a man Howie and Lenny warn may be a harbinger of impending doom. This is going to be so fun. It's filled with everything from fantasy to the sense of community, love, sex, magic, and hope in desperate times. I don't think you'll ever read a book description like that ever again.
That's so funny. Typical day on Fire Island.
Yeah, right, exactly. And this author is actually doing events, just so you know.
But I see
We've already got a
multiple
couple
Island
say,
librarians chiming in.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
glad you're paying
we've got a
attention.
couple books.
Gotta get the Long Islands in there.
And this next one is for all readers of Fourth Wing, which seems to be everyone in the universe. So we have Silver Elite by Danny Francis, and it's the first in a new speculative romantasy series. Trust no one, lie to everyone, and whatever you do, don't fall for your greatest enemy. Wren Darlington has spent her whole life in hiding, honing her psychic abilities and aiding the rebel uprising in small ways. On the continent, being modified means certain death, and Wren is one of the most powerful mods in existence. When one careless mistake places her in the hands of the enemy and she's forced to join their most elite training program, she's finally handed the perfect opportunity to strike a devastating blow from inside their ranks. But training for Silverblock can be deadly, especially when you're harboring dangerous secrets and living in close quarters with everyone who wants you dead. As the stakes grow ever higher, Wren must prove herself to Silverblock. But that's easier said than done when your commanding officer is the ruthless and infuriatingly irresistible Cross Redden, who doesn't miss anything when it comes to her. And as war rages between mods like her and those who aim to destroy them, Wren must decide just how far she's willing to go to protect herself and how much of the continent is worth saving. This book is for anyone who grew up on dystopian sci-fi fantasy like The Hunger Games, but are now looking for a more adult take on their favorite themes.
Okay, I know we have about 5 minutes left. We're almost at the end, but we have some really great stuff coming. So stick around. We're going to try and get through it really quick. We have next up some legendary activists. I think some little introduction, but will just be such fascinating books for your shelves. We all want to change the world is, of course, from the legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And this is a combination of personal and historical insights into lessons from this incredible activist and NBA legend. It's a sweeping look back at the protest movements that changed America, and I think will be an incredible journey for your shelves. He examines the activism of people of all ages, ethnicities, and socioeconomic backgrounds that helped change America. He documents events from the free speech movement through the movement for civil rights, the fight for women's and LGBTQ rights, and of course, the protests against the Vietnam War. He's just so incredible, the way his life has spanned so many incredible movements, and he has so much insight to share, and we all want to change the world will be a really inspiring pick for your shelves.
And in Marcia from Tiny Reparations Books, Black trans luminary Tourmaline brings to life the first definitive biography of the revolutionary activist Marsha P. Johnson, one of the most important and remarkable figures in LGBTQ history, revealing her story, her impact, and her legacy. Tourmaline is a Time 100 honoree and one of America's leading Black trans figures with extensive access to Marsha's friends and family, becoming the lead archivist of her story. Written with verve and sparkling prose, Tourmaline brings this iconic, scandalous, vital justice warrior to life in full color for the first time. This book will take readers into Marsha's childhood in New Jersey in the 1950s, to her dramatic and essential activism from the Stonewall riots to the AIDS crisis, to her life creating radical art from the humblest of means. Marsha was not just an activist, she was an artist and a performer, a lover and a mentor, a mischievous and transgressive queen. Her larger-than-life presence leaps out of every page. Marsha honors the fullness of her life and will give this remarkable figure her rightful place in history. This definitive biography is perfect for readers of notorious RBG and queer memoirs like those by Elliot Page, Jonathan Van Ness, and Megan Rapinoe.
And I'll just address really quickly. I saw a great question. Someone's asking about high school readers and would the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar title work? I haven't personally read it. I think that, because he's covering topics from his youth up until now, it very well might, but also you might want to know that 10 Speed Graphic is going to publish a graphic novel entitled Champion in September 2025, and it will depict his activism from his youth until now. So that will also be a great thing to keep in mind. If this seems too adult for who you're looking for, there's also that graphic novel to also look forward to, or even the combination of both. So thank you for thinking of all ages, and we're so happy to answer questions like that.
We have a couple of really quickly unique illustrated gems. The first one is The Hedgehog's Dilemma. This is the first in a series of witty philosophical animal stories with whimsical illustrations for adult fans of the boy, the mole, the fox, and his horse. We've all been there. When a lonely hedgehog hosts a party for his friends, he's suddenly racked by social anxiety and self-doubt. This is an international bestseller with more than 1 million copies sold in the Netherlands. The Hedgehog's Dilemma is the perfect gift for the shy, retiring hedgehog in your life. This lovely and loving book addresses deep emotional and philosophical themes with humor, kindness, and intelligence. And if you are going to be at LLX in Phoenix, we will have some copies to give away when we are there. Next up, from the author of Blankets, is Craig Thompson's Ginseng Roots. And I don't know how many of you loved Blankets, but I know that I did. And there is a new graphic memoir exploring the class divide, childhood labor, family, and our globalized world, all centered around Wisconsin's ginseng farming industry. When Blankets first published in 2003, Craig Thompson's seminal memoir about his first love and faith lost in rural Wisconsin debuted to rapturous acclaim. He is the winner of 2 Eisner and 3 Harvey Awards. It is to this day considered one of the all-time great works of graphic storytelling. Now in Craig's long-awaited return to autobiographical form is his new book, Ginseng Roots, and it follows Craig and his siblings who spent their summers of their youth weeding and harvesting rows of coveted American ginseng on rural Wisconsin farms for $1 an hour. This is going to be one of those books that tells a lot about the rise of industrial agriculture, the decline of American labor, and the search for a sense of home in a rapidly changing world. Very excited for this one.
All right, we're almost there. Thanks, everybody. Just on this American history slide, we have the next audio original from Stephen Ranella. He's, of course, got a huge podcast following, and he's an amazing orator, and he's just so great to listen to. And this is, of course, read by the author, and he continues his series that he's done with us, exploring history and American history specifically. So this is a new audiobook that plunges listeners into the untamed world of a celebrated and misunderstood group of 19th century outdoorsmen, the Mountain Men. So for fans of Stephen Ranella and his podcast, this is a must-have for your physical shelves, for your digital shelves, excuse me. It's only available on audio. It's an audio original.
And The Fate of the Day is the long-awaited second volume of the landmark American Revolution trilogy by the Pulitzer Prize-winning and #1 New York Times bestselling author of The British Are Coming, Rick Atkinson. Prize-winning historian Rick Atkinson provides a riveting narrative covering the middle years of the Revolution, and timed to coincide with the 250th anniversary of the beginning of the Revolution. This brilliant account of the lethal conflict between the Americans and the British offers not only deeply researched and speculatory dramatic history, but also a fresh perspective on the demands that a democracy makes on each of its citizens. So, very exciting.
And finally, I just wanted to end with some amazing kids titles on audio. These are new recordings of beloved stories, new recordings that you've never heard before. A new full cast recording of Augie and Me, 3 Wonder Stories by the incredible R.J. Palacio. We also have the next volume 2 of his Dark Materials, read by Ruth Wilson, by the Philip Pullman classic, The Subtle Knife. The first volume in this series was named just recently a best audiobook for youth by Booklist in 2024. So we're so thrilled to share volume 2, read by the incredible Ruth Wilson, who of course also was in the BBC series based on these books, which is so perfect. And then finally, Pippi Longstocking is coming into your world. That song has been in my head forever, and I was like, oh my God, I still know it. And it's read by Sutton Foster. I could not be more excited to combine one of my absolute favorite childhood memories of literature and characters, Pippi Longstocking, with Sutton Foster, who I adore. I don't know anyone who doesn't adore her. She's so phenomenal. She reads these 3 classic Pippi Longstocking audiobooks. And what could be better? We're so thrilled. They come out March 4th, and we have some behind the scenes footage and video of Sutton in the studio that we'll share closer to on sale. And you're just going to really get to share and rediscover these amazing classics with families. And we're just so thrilled that she's coming into your town again and read by the amazing Sutton Foster. So thank you. Oh, season 6. Yay. Thanks for sticking around. We did it just 3 minutes over.
Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for joining
Bye,
us.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.